The Outer Banks is this beautiful little chain of islands that runs down sort of like this and then hooks in a little about halfway down the coast. Separated from the mainland by two very large bodies of water called the Pamlico Sound, the Albemarle Sound. So much so that out there on the islands you can watch the sun rise over the ocean and then watch the sun set over the sound. You really feel like you're out in the middle of the ocean on those islands.
Must get a lot of hurricanes there. Huh?
A lot of hurricanes. They're very thin islands too. It's a very thin chain. Many places on those islands you can just throw a ball from one side, from one shore to the other. And those islands move a little bit every year. The sandbars and shoals and the channels all move a little bit. And that place, especially right there around Cape Hatteras, which is where that little hook happens right there, is known as the graveyard of the Atlantic for all the shipwrecks that have happened there. And the Spanish were making their way up that coast, and that's where these wild ponies came from. They were, the Spanish always had horses with them. Even Columbus had 30-some-odd horses when he first came over. So when they started making their way up the coast, Graveyard of the Atlantic was not written on their maps. They didn't know about that place. They would become stuck on one of these moving sandbars, and they would actually jettison horses to get the ship moving again. Or storms sometimes will come down from the north and come around that cape and sock you in before you know what's happening. And they become shipwrecked. These horses swam ashore and they learned how to eat salt grass. And they still dig these big pits in the sand. It's a very soft coast out there, right? It's a very sandy coast. They dig these big pits in the sand with their hooves. They'll dig down as much as 8 feet deep to create little pools of fresh water. And they lived out there for 400 years now. Here's another song from out there on that coast. This is called "I Was an Oak Tree." I was an oak tree. Took 1,000 years to grow. I've seen kingdoms come and go. Seen the losers turn to lords and back again. I held the rebels when they hung them from my limbs. When men of fortune cast their futures on the sea, it's when they came for me. I was a slave ship under the standard of the cross, a hallelujah holocaust. And half were dead before we reached the other shore. And the captain never saw the coming storm that swept around the Cape and took us by surprise, and only 8 survived. I was a campfire, a pile of driftwood in the sand, the only comfort in this land. And 8 hungry sailors roasted acorns that they'd found and left me burning as they stumbled toward the sound of a church bell ringing out above the ocean's wind. And I was born again. I'm an oak tree out along the wild Cape Fear. There is talk of freedom here. Where is the kingdom that was here before I came? Where have the people gone who only left their names? A revolution's just a circle after all, and every kingdom falls. I have an oak tree. If it takes 1,000 years to grow, I'll see kingdoms come and go.